blood pressure,
Oh,
which was
wow.
quite high, So
Hope you're
I had to
better.
do yeah, I'm fine. I'm better this morning.
We thank
I
God.
had to do all kinds of relaxing things, just to bring it down and not worry about. So for some time, I had to switch off my phone.
Mm.
So apologies to those who tried to reach me and couldn't.
Yeah,
It
I,
was.
I bet this listener also tried to reach you. I don't know, but somebody sent a message through today.
Uh-huh.
Say it right, team. Help me with this. A little bit more in a sentence. Is it the right thing to say?
Oh, a little bit more. Well, there is some tautology there. You don't need to have little and bit together in the sentence. You can say a little more,
Mm-hmm.
or you could say
A
a
bit
bit more.
more.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
answers it. A
There
bit more
you go.
caution on our roads, could you?
Yes, yes. Speaking of
That's-
speaking of say it right, very interesting mispronounced word will be dealt with on today's say it
Looking
right.
forward to it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But yes, caution on our roads.
Mm-hmm.
Two horrible accidents that we know of, right? One on that infamous Kintampo road. That road, I
That
don't
would
know
always, always.
a place called Bono Manso apparently, and the
How
story
many
of
lives were lost?
five
Wow.
people. I mean, burnt to a cinder on the spot. Now, here's the. This is how the thing happened, according to the mate who was in one of the buses, involved. So, his bus and an STC bus had been taking turns overtaking each other on that road. I mean, who in their right mind? Anyway, that's what these two were doing. And then at some point, their bus had brake failure. So see, first of all, bad driving. Secondly, who said that car is roadworthy? Who gave it
The state
a
of the
road?
vehicle.
Right? What is the state of that vehicle, which is owned by a Ghanaian, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, brake failure. So they are behind the STC and their brakes fail. So they realize they are going to crash into the back of the STC. So they start blowing their horn, trying to get the attention of the STC driver. I don't know how horn blowing can communicate brake failure, but they were trying.
Oh God.
The STC driver didn't know what they were talking about. So in order to avoid hitting the bus, they had to come into the opposite lane and
no.
attempt to overtake it.
Oh no.
And that was when this tanker coming from the opposite direction, filled with alcohol, crashed into them.
Can you imagine the terror?
Can you
Passengers
imagine?
have to endure?
Can you imagine? And you are doing overtaking. You are competing with the STC bus.
I don't know why people think. I don't know whether they consider it fun. I don't know why you'd want to overtake a vehicle. Why can't you just be
Why can't
patient?
you just drive at the speed limit and get to your destination?
That's
What
what
are you
you're
a bus?
talking about.
Have you seen how long it takes for one bus to overtake even a small car?
Mm-hmm.
Now think of a bus
That's
overtaking
overtaking a
another
bus.
bus.
That's so dangerous.
Then Winston's, neighbor died as well.
I saw
with
that on
his two
Facebook. I didn't know it
nieces.
was so close. I Winston knew the
Yeah.
person. Gosh.
Yeah, and this guy is gone, leaving behind his wife and 3 children. He was traveling with his 2 adult nieces. Again, a Sprinter bus attempting to overtake at the wrong time comes into his lane, so he has to veer off to avoid crashing into it. And he ends up crashing into this waterway, and the front of the vehicle is apparently quite badly damaged, which means they must have crashed hard
Ah.
into the ground at speed. Fire service couldn't make it there on time.
Of course.
I mean, if you look at the time difference between when the fire service was called, when they got there, and when they finally got the bodies
there.
out, large interval. So I mean, even if there was any chance of them surviving, which I don't think there was, it sounds like they must have died on the spot. But even if there was any chance of them surviving, no, not with those times, not with
Yeah.
those response times. I mean, I don't know. This
I mean, I just hope we learn something, because every time we talk about this, people don't just listen. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, today it can't just be talk. It can't just be talk. We need to try and hold people accountable, because if our system worked, these things wouldn't happen.
And the thing about the state of our vehicles, who is monitoring,
Yes.
yeah, is very important too.
And that godforsaken Kintampo road, how many more lives should it take before we fix this, the basic structural design of it that is, putting us all at risk?
Yeah. That is important too.
Anyway, the 6 a.m. news was brought to us by Total Energies. Total, we go the extra mile for you. Absa Bank Ghana Limited, helping you find a way to get things done, and Millennium Insurance, your trustworthy partner. Time now for the Joy Business Report, and that comes to you by the kindness of Glyco Life Travel Insurance. Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Joy Business Report. Coming up this morning, Ghana moves from a high to moderate debt distress country as the nation's debt falls to a little above 434 billion cedis. We have more coming up shortly. Also, Ghana's earnings from exports ending April this year reduces marginally to $5.6 billion. But should we be worried about this development? Also ahead, average lending rates fall to 31.66% in April as Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana is set to announce a decision on the key lending rate today. We'll have more on that. Stay tuned. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Also later in the bulletin, government fails to achieve its treasury bills target despite receiving the first tranche of an International Monetary Fund bailout package last Friday. First though, Ghana has moved from a high to moderate debt distress country following the successful restructuring of the domestic debt. The country's public debt stock fell by about 141 billion cedis in December last year to end the year at 434.6 billion cedis. This will go down further after successful restructuring or reprofiling of our external debt. Now, speaking to Joy Business, US-based Associate Professor of Finance Williams Pippa said the country is moving in the right direction, but advises government to monitor and control its borrowing from the treasury market.
The reduction in the total public debt of Ghana is expected after the domestic debt exchange program and the strengthening of the cedi against other currencies, especially the US dollars. This process of debt reduction is for Ghana to move from a high debt distress country to a moderate debt distress country in the future. The anticipation is that the external creditors should agree to Ghana's request for a haircut or a debt reprofiling or a debt relief. This should lead to a further reduction in the public debt of Ghana.
You had Williams report there, US-based Associate Professor of Finance, speaking to Joy Business. Now, Ghana's total earnings from exports at the end of April this year witnessed marginal reduction. The Bank of Ghana, in its May summary of economic and financial data, puts the amount for the first 4 months at $5.6 billion. George Affe has details on this and looks at the possible impact on the Ghana cedi.
Bank of Ghana's latest financial and economic data showed that the decline in the total earnings can be linked to challenges with what we got from oil exports. This because it declined from $1.8 billion in April last year to $1.1 billion in April 2023. Apart from this challenge with oil, our earnings from other exports like gold and cocoa also saw a significant increase compared to what we secured in the same period for last year. On the other hand, the amount of money spent on imports recorded some marginal decline to reach $4 billion for last year. It showed that the amount of money spent on oil and other imports also dropped marginally, ending April this year. It, however, resulted in the country's trade balance reaching $1.6 billion. But for some, the development cannot be described as that bad because the decline is marginal. The shocks to the economy will not be felt that much. However, if the trend should continue, then it might not be good for the economy, especially when it comes to the city's fortunes. Meanwhile, the country's total dollar reserves ending April this year stood at $5.2 billion, which can cover imports up to 2.4 months for this year, compared to the $8.3 billion that we had in the same period for last year.
George Affe with that report for us. Now, average lending rates fell to 31.66% in April from 35.8% recorded in March. This is equivalent to 2.63% interest rate on loans per month. According to data from the Bank of Ghana, the average lending rates were high in January and February 2023 respectively. However, the $3 billion International Monetary Fund support program approved last week and is expected to revitalize the economy and will push lending rates further down in the coming months. Meanwhile, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana will announce a decision on its key lending rate, the policy rate, later this morning. There are strong indications that the policy rate, which stands at 29.5%, could go up marginally or maintained. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, at a recent IMF joint press conference, explained the direction of the policy rate in the coming months.
The YOCO has investigated and forwarded 11 dockets to the Attorney General's office. This has been done more than a year ago. And I'm saying so just to put pressure on the Attorney General's department.
Apologies, that's not what we wanted to bring you. We'll try and get you the governor on the policy rate, which we expect to be announced later today. But let's talk about utility tariffs, because some small and medium enterprises are concerned about the high cost of electricity and water, saying the recent tariff hikes would increase their cost of operations. Joy Business has been speaking to one restaurant owner, Harrison Mate, he's CEO of 1115. He describes the increase in tariffs as a big blow to players in the sector.
Operating costs will go high. I mean, it's already escalated. You don't know what to expect, because for me, once the price of power goes up, the person who I buy chicken from is going to charge me more for the chicken I buy. Almost everything is going to go up. Cost of using electricity will go up. If I'm doing 100 cedis every 2 days, it's going to be 118 cedis every 2 days. And we're also going to squeeze my margin. So my profit margin will squeeze. It means that I might end up delaying in paying salary. I might end up delaying in paying my suppliers, which will mean that my business might end up going down. So these tariffs going high is a big one for all SMEs, not just those of us in the restaurant space, but for everybody who uses power and water and what they do is a blow.
You heard Harrison Matthew, who is owner of 1115 restaurant. Now, the African Export-Import Bank has hinted at taking over some defunct multinational banks on the continent to boost various economies. According to President and Chairman of the Board of Directors, Professor Benedict Orama, the bank will further strengthen its trade finance to support various commercial banks within the South region. Now, this, he says, will attract more foreign direct investments, and he was speaking at the launch of the 30th annual meetings to be hosted in Ghana.
Today, many international banks are exiting the continent. Under a strategy that the President Bank is implementing, we are making sure that these banks are acquired by African financial institutions, because that is the only way to bring stability to our financial system. A situation where our banks are dominated by foreign-owned institutions is not that healthy. While we welcome foreign investors, we want to be like other countries, because Americans own American banks, Europeans own European banks, Chinese own Chinese banks. Africans should own the majority of African banks.
Professor Benedict Orama is President and Chairman of the Board of Directors at the Afri-Exim Bank. Now, to one of our top stories this morning. Government failed to achieve its Treasury bills target despite receiving the first tranche of an International Monetary Fund bailout package last Friday. It was expected that investor confidence would soar. Yet again, interest rates went up despite the arrival of the funds. Here's more in this report.
There were expectations that interest rates will fall following the $600 million credited to the Bank of Ghana's account. Government in recent times has been borrowing significantly on the treasury market, but this may change going forward. According to the auction results by the Bank of Ghana, the government received 2.72 billion cedis from the sale of the short-term financial instrument, slightly lower than the targeted amount of 2.73 billion cedis. The majority of the bids came from the 91-day T-bill, as a little above 2.01 billion cedis were tendered. All the amounts were accepted. The yield shot up by 20.56% from 20.43% the previous week. Also, about 712 million cedis were offered from the investors for the 182-day bill, which all the bids were received. The interest rate also went up by 0.39% to 23.35%.
Will the stock market benefit from the recent approval of a $3 billion bailout package for Ghana by the International Monetary Fund? Let's hear from Grace Munayam of Databank Research on how your stocks are likely to fare this week.
The stock market traded sideways last week, closing the market indices negatively as three equities declined. Standard Chartered Bank was the worst laggard, losing 1 cedi 39 pesos to 12 cedis 51 pesos. MTN Ghana and Societe Generale lost 12 pesos and 2 pesos respectively. Nonetheless, 3 stocks on the exchange posted price increases. Unilever Ghana gained 1 cedi to close at 5 cedis 80 pesos, while Guinness Ghana and Total Energies respectively gained 15 pesos and a peso. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index ended the week down by 5.52%, reducing its year-to-date gain to 5.2%. In addition, New Gold lost 40 cedis 42 pesos to close at 187 cedis 20 pesos. Based on the demand-supply dynamics of the market, we anticipate that Total Energies will increase this week, while Standard Chartered Bank and SIC Insurance fall. For Joy Business Report, Grace Munanyun of Data Bank Research.
Thank you, Grace. Let's check the markets as we wrap up this morning. The dollar going for 11 cedis on the Forex or retail market. The pound going for 13 cedis 80 pesos. The euro going for 11 cedis 95 pesos. On the commodity market, crude oil dropped to $74 a barrel. Gold lost more than $5 to open trading at $1,972 an ounce. Cocoa went up by a significant $77, selling this morning at $3,068 a ton. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for listening. The Super Morning Show continues with Kojo Yankson. Do stay tuned.
It does.
I see that people are reacting to the accidents over the accident over the weekend. People are very concerned about it. So let's keep the conversation going.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. So this is interesting. I'm going to read this one. It says, good morning, Kojo. In as much as non-roadworthy vehicles are a factor in these gruesome accidents, the major factor is the roads. How on earth do we have a 2-lane road as an international and major highway? If our major roads and highways were done like the ones between Medina through Tetekwashi to Kaswa or to Accra and Circle, these avoidable accidents would be greatly minimized. And that's from William in Gomwa.
He makes a good point there.
Yeah, it adds to the debate because it's true.